There's a crisis coming to Elon Musk and Tesla with the Aries new moon eclipse on March 29th. So I'm going to look at that chart and see what it has to say. The reason why Elon Musk is facing a crisis is because instead of staying as a businessman and entrepreneur, doing the things that he is best at, he decided to get into politics. And by doing that, he has alienated half the population of America. And it turns out that he's also alienating large swaths of people in foreign countries. And there are specific reasons for this. It's not just because he's chosen to align himself with a specific party in the United States. It has to do with the fact that he made a specific kind of salute. He did it twice. Some people say, oh, it's just a joke. But the fact is, he gave a significant financial support to the neo-Nazi party in Germany recently. So it's not just a joke. This is the truth about his politics. So I guess I can't really hide my bias because I do find that disturbing. And I think he needs to make a decision about whether he's going to be a businessman and entrepreneur or whether he's going to be a politician. And this is a decision that I think we can actually see in the chart that he is being forced to make that decision. And if he continues to try to straddle the line between both, his businesses are going to suffer. And that's just a fact. It doesn't matter whether you think he's the most amazing man on the planet and he's doing wonderful things. And I know some people think that, and that's fine. I'm not here to tell anyone what their opinion should be. I just want to read the charts and talk about the facts. So let's go and look at that chart. One thing I also want to mention is that when I did the first reading on Elon Musk, I had his birth date, the month, day, and year, and the place of birth, Pretoria, South Africa. However, the time that I had was from years ago when I originally looked at his chart. It has since been updated, and I didn't know that the original time was not correct. So it has now been corrected to 7:30 a.m. As far as the reading I did before, it's still accurate in terms of where the planets are landing, how they're affecting his natal planets. The only thing that changes is the house location. So let's look at it now with this updated time of 7:30 a.m. and see what the chart has to say. And ironically, it turned out it was actually easier to read now that I've got it set for 7:30 a.m. So this new moon eclipse will happen in his 10th house, which is interesting because the 10th house is your career and it's the most public space. It's where you're seen publicly. It's how other people see you publicly. So it's what you do in the public sphere. It's how you're seen in the public sphere. It can be your career or your social standing or how you contribute in the world, but it's also what people think of you because it's where you're seen and known publicly, which is different from every other house in the zodiac. Every other house is more personal to the native. That's what we call the person whose chart it is. It's a natal chart and they are the native. But the 10th house is often about how other people see you, your public image. And this is where he has to make an important decision with this new moon eclipse. And it's very interesting because what it's doing is it's making an opposition to his Uranus in the 4th house. Now, the 4th house is his house of home and family. And I would say that it makes sense that his life recently has been very much affecting his home and family because how can you work that much and sleep on the floor in some office building and not have it, affect your home and family life? After all, he does have 14 children now, and many of them are children. They're not adults. So, of course, it's going to affect their lives as well. So that may be it, that he wants the freedom to do what he wants to do, but it is impacting his home and family. And also, it's affecting his moon. It's making an inconjunct to his moon. The moon is our feelings about things, how we relate in terms of our emotions and in terms of our relationships. I've heard that he has Asperger's, so Asperger's is changes the way people interact relationally. And I don't want to talk about it, in terms of like any kind of judgment, because some people are like that, but it does affect it the way that they relate to others. But that doesn't mean that he doesn't feel emotions. Everybody feels emotions. It's just how do they express those emotions? What is it like inside them? What do they value? The fact that it's in Virgo, we can definitely see that in his personality. He definitely has a very strong Virgo personality. He has Pluto in Virgo as well. And so his emotions are tied to that Virgo moon, because Virgo is the sign of the sixth house and work and acts of service. And so that's what he values emotionally. That's what gives him his sense of emotional safety and emotional grounding, and how he relates emotionally to reality, to the world, to other people, to himself. Everything he does, everything he thinks, everything he feels is very much tied to that Virgo moon and his feelings about work. And we know that. People say he's a workaholic, and I think that's pretty accurate. So this is so important to him emotionally. And he is spreading himself way too thin. No human being can do all of those things. He's spreading himself too thin, and it's causing problems in his life. And so he'll need to make a decision. And so that affects his emotions, how he feels about it. It doesn't feel good with an inconjunct. He's not happy about it. It's like there's no good outcome. There's no good choice for him. And the other thing that this new moon eclipse is doing is it's squaring his sun and his ascendant in Cancer. And Cancer is ruled by the moon. So that takes us back to his feelings about it and how unhappy he is about having to make these choices. He doesn't want to have to make these choices. He wants to be able to do it all in some magical fantasy world where he's superhuman and he can do it all. He doesn't want the limitations. He wants perfection. He wants it to be exactly the way he thinks it should be. But, that can be diluted. In truth, that can be diluted, because none of us can do it all. None of us are superhuman. And so there are limits. Simply because we're human, there are limits. So this new moon eclipse, as I said, is squaring his sun and his ascendant in Cancer. The sun is your mission in life. It's like your core purpose, your core mission in life. And it's conjunct his ascendant, which is your personality, the way that you interface with other people, your self-image. And so the fact that he has both of those very close together in Cancer means that his inner core sense of self, mission, and his personality, his outer persona, are very similar. So it's sort of like what you see is what you get with him. And the fact that it's squaring means that there's a pressure to make a decision and take action. Now, it's possible sometimes that people can try to straddle the fence. He may try to straddle the fence, but the thing about it is this is an eclipse, which means it's not just about this particular new moon and the time frame around this particular new moon. It relates to life changes. So the decision doesn't go away. It keeps coming back and coming back and coming back until finally the person makes a choice one way or the other. So we'll see if he tries to straddle the fence or if he does actually make a decision. And that decision could be to step away from his political activities and go back to being a businessman and an entrepreneur. Or it could be that he decides to go ahead and try to do both and watch his businesses, some of his businesses suffer, not all of them, because he is actually getting massive, massive government contracts, which I think is very interesting and ironic, considering that he's the one who's getting all the money from the government, but he doesn't want other people to get money, like Social Security. So that seems a bit hypocritical. And I think that's part of the animosity toward him right now. Another interesting thing that is happening at the time of this new moon eclipse, which is going to be true for everyone, not just Elon Musk, is that Mars is square to Chiron. Mars is in Cancer, his first house of self. I'm sure he has been feeling a lot of anger lately because that would be natural with Mars in his first house, Cancer. And it's squaring Chiron in his 10th house. And this is the wounding that he's experiencing with Chiron in the 10th house of career. So that Mars squaring it, he's experiencing the wound, but he's also very angry about it. He doesn't think it's fair, and he's playing the victim and not understanding that, in a sense, he has victimized other people who have lost their jobs, who have lost their funding, who have lost their grants, who have lost the opportunity to contribute, like farmers who were giving food to the world. They've lost that opportunity. They've lost that funding. And so many, many people are suffering, but he only sees it from his point of view. He isn't being empathetic or compassionate to those people that he has fired or that he has caused to be fired, or people who are no longer receiving their funding, their services, their grants, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And also now the statements that he has made about Social Security and how it needs to be eliminated. Once Mars moves into opposition to Pluto, that will spark violence. We will definitely see violence. In fact, the violence could get to the point where there may be an attempt. I want to be careful about my language. So when I say Mars, the god of war and conflict and violence and anger and rage, is opposite Pluto, which is the god of the underworld. And you see those two in opposition, and you see something explosive, you see something violent, and you see an attempt. I hope you understand what I'm saying here without me actually having to say it. On the other hand, Mercury and the other planets that will move into Aries are making sextiles to Pluto in his 8th house. 8th house is a money house. That's where he gets his money, okay? Very little of his money actually comes from the 2nd house. The 2nd house is your income. The 8th house are things like government contracts, stock options, et cetera, et cetera. So most of his money and wealth actually comes from the 8th house. So the 10th house and the 8th house with Pluto there are making sextiles. So he will continue to make enormous amounts of money, but most of it is coming from government contracts and government money. Taxpayers' money is going to fund him and whatever he chooses to do with that money. Like, for example, support specific political parties, including the neo-Nazi party in Germany. It's also trining Neptune in 6th house. Now, Neptune in his 6th house is all about his ideals. The work that he does comes from his ideals. And that touches in on his Saturn in Gemini. So all of the work that he does in his ideals and his imagination gets grounded with that Saturn in Gemini. So that's why he's so effective and so productive, so successful in business. And, on one hand, one could see that as a very positive thing, certainly for him. And for a long time, I think many people did think that he was doing good in the world and were supportive of that. But I think his public opinion has changed since he got into politics. And I think my bias seeps out whether I try to be balanced or not. It just seeps out, but I do try to be balanced. All right, so that was the updated reading with the new time on his birth chart. And also, I know someone had suggested that I spend more time talking about the opposition to Uranus and the square to the sun. So I have done that, and also now talked about the inconjunct to his moon. So as you can see, he's got some very difficult decisions to make. So I hope that was interesting. I hope you enjoyed it. And again, I would love to hear your comments. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, if you are interested in becoming a patron, there's always a link below. You can get on there for free, or you can join for $5 and get all the benefits of my patrons. Just check it out for a month and unsubscribe if you decide it's not what you want. If you like this video, please click like, share with other people who might find this interesting. If you aren't yet subscribed, please subscribe to my channel, and I will see you again in the next video. Bye-bye.